Daily Devotion with Pastor Balla for October 30th, 2020 from Daniel chapter 1, Something Worth Standing Up For. Verse 8, But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food or with the wine that he drank. Therefore he asked the chief of the eunuchs to allow him not to defile himself. Daniel could have had a couple things in mind. That word defile means kind of pollute. So God did command the people of Israel not to eat certain foods, certain animals. Let's pick this up from Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 8. And the pig, because it parts the hoof but does not chew the cud, it is unclean for you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcass you shall not touch. Notice it said unclean, which is very much like that pollute, which is very much like that defilement. Or it could have been more in regards to like the wine. And there's nothing wrong with wine as long as you don't drink too much of it. As the author of the Proverbs notes in Proverbs chapter 23, beginning with verse 31, do not look at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, and goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things, and your heart utter perverse things. Obviously, the author of the Proverbs was thinking of not just one glass of wine, but maybe one or two bottles of wine. So Daniel, not only did he ask, but he asked in the right way. And that's something as Christians we also have to realize. Daniel didn't get up there and say, well, this is against my religious conviction. Or if you don't do what I say, I'm going to go on a starvation diet, or any other type of manipulation. Instead, he politely asked, and he went through the proper channels. There was no demonstration for Daniel. Let's just ask the right way. And as Christians, we also need to learn that in today's world, since today's world is also very hostile to Christians. So when we're interacting in today's world, we also should ask the right way, ask politely, and go through the proper channels. The response to Daniel, verse 9, God gave Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who assigned your food and your drink. For why should he see that you were in worse condition than the youths who were of your own age? So you would endanger my head with the king? So notice what the eunuch was concerned about. He was concerned that if Daniel and his friends turned up to be in worse shape, his own head, the eunuch's head, would be on the chopping block, so to speak. But Daniel again listened and replied the right way. Verse 12, test your servants for 10 days. Let us be given vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance and the appearance of the youths who eat the king's food be observed by you, and deal with your servants according to what you see. 10 days, is that enough to make a difference? But after 10 days, guess who gets to make the decision? The eunuch. Since the eunuch was in charge of Daniel and the rest of the youth, he would be in charge of making this decision. And Daniel yielded to his authority. Verse 15, at the end of 10 days, it was seen that they were better in appearance and fatter in flesh than all the youth who ate the king's food. So the steward took away their food and the wine they were to drink and gave them vegetables. 10 days. That's not a long time to really make a difference in a person, is it? Or is this some sort of miracle diet? Well, you could say, and you would be correct, that it is a miracle diet. Not that it's going to try to compete with Weight Watchers, but the emphasis is on the miracle, not necessarily the diet. For who was really behind this effort of Daniel and his friends? Verse 17. As for these 4 youths, God gave them learning and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Notice who was behind all of this. It was God. God who blessed their learning and understanding and gave them gifts. God wanted to make sure that they would be doing well because God had plans for them while they were in Babylon. So what would the king think of their 3 years of learning and with vegetables and water? They exceeded the king's expectations. Verse 20, and in every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters that were in all his kingdom. And Daniel was there until the first year of King Cyrus. God also has plans for us. Even though we live in a world very much like Daniel, a world that is rebelling against God. But as we hear about Daniel's trust in God and how God blessed Daniel even in exile, we realize that we also are blessed by God in our daily lives. So we also should remain faithful to God, even though the rest of the world has turned its back on God and is rejecting God. Join me again tomorrow as we hear about a dream. God's peace and many blessings be with you. Thank you for watching, and please take an opportunity to share this message with others. If you have enjoyed these daily devotions, please consider making a donation to Peace Lutheran Church, 24024 West Main Street, Plainfield, Illinois, 60544. Thank you again for watching.